Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still playing out this bullish divergence as the DXY is currently crashing, pointing towards more liquidations coming soon, but this time to the upside, which I'll talk about in just a moment, alongside Ethereum continuing to bounce from oversold territories, which I'll talk about later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, we need to talk about the Bitcoin news today because the German government is still selling Bitcoin. Just in the last few hours, they've actually sent another approximately 5,800 Bitcoin over towards exchanges worth over $300 million US. But the good news is the German government is running out of Bitcoin. In fact, as of right now, the German government is holding less than 4,000 Bitcoin worth a little over $200 million US. And over the last few days, they've been selling more than that amount each day. So at their current rate of selling, then potentially in around a day from now, tomorrow perhaps, they could be done selling because they'll just run out of Bitcoin at that stage. And what is helping to balance out that sell pressure from the German government is inflows coming into the spot Bitcoin ETFs, because just on Thursday, we saw another decent inflow into the spot Bitcoin ETFs of around $79 million US as a net inflow. And so, of course, while we're still seeing these net inflows, that is buying pressure, that is good news for the price of Bitcoin, helping to offset the sell pressure from the German government. But with that being said, as I've already mentioned over the last couple of days, if we're looking at the net inflows that we've seen so far this week from Monday through to Thursday, even though we're still seeing net inflows, which is good news, of course, the inflows have been declining every single day this week. So on Monday, we started off with a net inflow of nearly $300 million US. And then on Tuesday, we saw a net inflow of around $216 million US. On Wednesday, we saw a net inflow of around $147 million US. And once again, on Thursday, we just saw a net inflow of around $79 million. And so if this trend continues of declining net inflows, of course, this is moving towards potential net outflows if we continue in this trend of less and less inflows. But overall, the Bitcoin ETFs and the German government are basically balancing each other out as of right now. Once again, we're seeing the selling pressure from the German government and the buying pressure from the Bitcoin ETFs. And as the German government is running out of Bitcoin, we're seeing less and less inflow. So overall, based on the Bitcoin ETFs and the German government, things are looking relatively neutral just on those two pieces of news. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, looking at the 4-day time frame, as of right now, we have not yet broken the larger bullish trend or bull market, at least based on this super trend indicator here on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, because in order to confirm a bearish reversal signal in this indicator on this chart, we need to see at least a 4-day candle close confirm below 55.8K. And at least for now, the price of Bitcoin is still holding above that level right there if we're looking at the 4-day candle closes, which means at least for now, we have not confirmed any larger bearish reversal signal on the larger timeframes here. And keep in mind, we have seen other examples where the price action has actually gone below the bottom of the super trend indicator, so below the point of invalidation for the bull market. For example, back in August 2023 and March 2023, we saw a candle wick to the downside, but we never saw a confirmed candle close, a confirmed break to the downside for this indicator right here. So due to that, we remained within the larger bullish trend, also known as the bull market. And that could still happen this time around if we simply hold above 55.8K and continue to bounce from that area in the coming weeks or months. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin chart, as of right now, the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is still sitting below 50 in the lower half of the indicator, which means at least for now, I'm still simply accumulating Bitcoin on the spot market, because usually, at least based on the last few years here, usually when the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is below 50, those are some pretty decent buying opportunities, especially for the longer term. But as always, nothing that I say is personal financial advice because I don't know your personal financial situation. I'm just sharing what I'm currently doing based on these charts right now. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, the DXY, also known as the US dollar index, is crashing to the downside right now. We're seeing a major pullback, which historically speaking, this is almost always a very bullish signal for the price of Bitcoin, because almost always when the DXY is bearish here on the daily time frame, that is almost always bullish for the price of Bitcoin, as we see time and time again throughout Bitcoin's history. And now there are some rare circumstances, perhaps around 5% of the time, where these two move in the same direction. Like, for example, in the second half of September last year, we saw the DXY head to the upside at the same time as the price heading to the upside. Or if we're taking a look at around a week ago, we saw the initial stage of this pullback here in the DXY at the same time as a pullback in the price of Bitcoin, because of course at that point we were seeing the German government unload a lot of Bitcoin on the market, dumping the price of Bitcoin. But overall, if we're staying away from recency bias and actually looking at the overall chart here, we can see more often than not, probably 90 to 95% of the time, these two are moving in the opposite direction. And it's only around 5% of the time, give or take, where they're actually moving in the same direction. And so with that in mind, right now we're seeing a massive pullback continue here in the DXY, which should be very likely a very bullish signal for the price of Bitcoin, historically speaking. And especially as the German government is just about to run out of Bitcoin entirely. They've basically dumped almost all of their Bitcoin on the market at this stage, and they're about to run out of Bitcoin. Potentially, as the German government is running out of Bitcoin, we could finally see more bullish price action here in the price of Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, as of right now, the bullish divergence is still playing out exactly as expected, because like I've been saying, basically every day over the last half a week or so, we're most likely going to see either a slight bullish relief or some choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes just for the remainder of this week, potentially going into next week. And so this is still what I expect moving forward here in the short term for the rest of this week, possibly moving into next week as the most likely scenario. But this bullish divergence by itself is not necessarily enough to confirm a bullish trend reversal. So for that, we need to see other signals, like for example, a massive pullback here in the DXY, which is happening right now. But also, ideally, we need to see breakouts above resistance, at least above around 60 to 61,000, and ideally back above around 63 to 64,000 to flip a lot more bullish here in the shorter term for the trend and momentum. Because of course, these resistance areas are where the price is most likely going to struggle at. And if we reject at the first area of resistance here, like what we saw back here at that bullish relief, then we could continue the bearish trend later on if we fail to break out above any resistance right here, like what we saw back here. And so once again, just to make things clear, we have not yet confirmed any bullish trend reversal here in the short term, but at the same time, just for the next few days, possibly the next week or so, that sort of time frame, I still expect a bit of a short-term bullish relief or sideways consolidation during the bearish trend, which can happen during a bearish trend, like what we've seen here and back here, for example. And as for support, we still have a lot of support at around 56 to 57,000 and a massive area of support in between around 51,000 to 53,000. And if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, of course, we are just about to head into a weekend. And historically speaking, usually the weekends are relatively neutral for the price. We often don't see massive movements in a single direction over the weekend. And so just in the coming days, I expect relatively neutral price action, perhaps some choppy sideways price action just for the weekend here. And the support and resistance levels to watch out for here in the imminent short term based on the 4-hour time frame, the Fibonacci levels here on the 4-hour time frame, we have this 38.2% Fibonacci level, which was previous resistance and temporary support right here, sitting at around 57.2K, acting as support. And we still have some major resistance in between around $59,500 to $60,000 based on this golden pocket area of resistance. And just before I talk about some massive liquidations likely coming very soon, first, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take just about all of my trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a massive lucky draw right now. And this has actually been extended. So right now, this is only lasting for the next 8 days or so. Just by trading crypto using the link down below this video, you could potentially win up to $100,000 just by trading crypto using that link. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And with that being said, if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, over the last one day, we exactly took out a lot of those liquidations, which was sitting right at around 56.6K to 56.8K, give or take. And so, like I said, over the last 2 days, I've been saying that it's extremely likely that very soon, in the next couple of days, we're going to see the price of Bitcoin drop just below 57,000 just to take out that liquidity right there before potentially bouncing. And what have we seen since then? Well, we've seen the price take out that exact level as expected and bounce from that level. And so as we can see time and time again, the Bitcoin price usually goes towards these major levels of liquidations, these liquidity zones on this chart before heading in the next direction. And if you're wanting to know why that is the case, then check out my last video here on the channel, because in that video, I'll talk some more about why that actually happens. But with that being said, our next major area of liquidations here on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map is actually starting to build to the upside, sitting in between around 59.8K to $60,000. And now keep in mind, we still have some liquidity at around 56,500. So just keep that in mind. But with that being said, the majority of the liquidity is sitting just underneath $60,000. So it's very likely that sometime potentially in the next few days, we could end up seeing the price return to close to $60,000 to wipe out a lot of those positions. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, right now the price of ETH is still bouncing exactly from this area of support, sitting in between 2.8K to 2.9K. And we're not only bouncing from support here in the price chart, we're also bouncing from oversold territories here in the daily Ethereum RSI. And we can especially see this if we're zooming out on the daily time frame, taking a look at the last few times where the daily Ethereum RSI entered into oversold territories or got very close to oversold territories. Usually that means we're at some sort of local low and we're about to see a further bounce in the short term, or at least a bit of a sideways consolidation. So basically just a break or relief from the short-term bearish trend. But this signal by itself is not necessarily enough to confirm the end of the bearish trend like what we saw just here. We saw a bit of a break from the bearish trend, but then around a week or two later, we did see a new lower low in the candle closes later on. But like I've been saying basically every day over the last 1 week, I continue to expect a bit of a bullish relief or at least some choppy sideways price action. So basically just a break from that bearish trend here in the short term for at least the remainder of this week, potentially moving into next week as well. And if we're zooming into the 6-hour time frame, taking a look at the Fibonacci retracement tool based on the linear settings from this swing high close to 4,000 down to this swing low at 2.8K, and that places this 23.6% Fibonacci level, which was previous resistance and is currently acting as a bit of support, sitting at around 3080. And the resistance we need to pay attention to is the 38.2% Fibonacci level of resistance, sitting at around 3250. And now if we see a strong confirmed breakout with candle closes back above 3250, then in that case, we have the 50% retracement level, which was previous support right here, sitting at around 3.4K, around 3390, so just below 3.4K. And we have the golden pocket area of resistance sitting in between around 3520 to 3570. And if we're taking a quick look at the price of Solana on the 12-hour time frame, obviously over the last 1 to 2 days, we saw a further rejection again from this critical area of resistance sitting in between around 140 to 144. And so as of right now, that is still the area of resistance to pay attention to here in the short term. And as for support, we still have this massive area of support in between around 120 to 128. But if we eventually see a confirmed breakout back above around 144 with candle closes back above that level, then in that case, the next short-term resistance is sitting in between around 152 to 154. And above that, we have a significant level of resistance at around 160. But like I've already been saying here on the channel, when it comes to the trend and momentum for the price of Solana here in the shorter term, we don't really have a strong trend or momentum to either direction here in the short term. We're basically just chopping around sideways in a large sideways price range, kind of like what we saw back here. And so at least in the short term, once again, for the remainder of this week, possibly moving into next week, that is what I continue to expect here in the short term, just some large choppy sideways price action here, which you can actually still make a lot of money from, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But first, once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways like right here, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.